Welcome to the Mom and podcast. We're your hosts, Suzanne Kearns
and Missy Stevens. We want to help you through everything that happens in the ellipses, from your professional life to your emotional health.
You're a mom and so much more. Let's figure out what comes next together.
Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster care advocate, and today trying to reclaim my house after weeks of not being here very much. It's like gone back to nature. It's gone back to being run by boys, and it's not good. So cleaning is my cardio this week.
Oh, get the hazmat suit.
It's bad.
And I'm Suzanne Kearns, a mom and writer, LGBTQ and sex ed advocate, and today a Texas primary voter, which by the time you hear this will be a couple months ago, but it's always a good time to remind you all to vote. So go vote.
Yes. Our guest today is Dr. Kim Hires, and we are so excited to talk with her. Kim is a mom and leadership burnout coach, author, and speaker. And I started following her on TikTok a while ago and fell in love with her content. So I'm really thrilled we get to talk to her in real life or real Zoom life, whatever that is. Dr. Kim Hires is known internationally for her work on burnout, leadership, and education. She is also the host of the Leadership Antidote podcast. She founded the Nightingale firm in 2014 after surviving burnout and recognizing that leaders are seldom trained on how to ensure their well-being. She is on a mission to help every organization in the world become burnout-proof, safe spaces where everyone can thrive. Love it. Welcome.
Hello. Hi. Welcome. I'm saying welcome like it's my podcast. See, I need to take
You're
this
just
hat
used
off.
to it.
I know. The
Thanks
seats
for
have been
having
turned.
Yes. This is different. So I'm excited.
Oh,
good.
We're so excited to have you here. And so Missy just read your intro and shared kind of your high level info about you, but I know there's a lot more to your story, especially the reason that you decided to become a burnout coach. So can you tell us a little more about that story?
Yes. So it happened in 2014. I was a new mom. I had a toddler, my first child, and everything looked great on the surface. I was happily married, had the career of my dreams. I just landed a tenure track position at a R1 research institution. I was pegged for future leadership. Like everything felt great. And then I started to notice it became harder and harder to get up and go to work. Things that were once easy for me, I started to avoid. I didn't want to attend meetings. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. And I remember, as I think back, I remember like the first few red flags. One was I would pull into the parking lot at work and just not want to go inside. And it just kept building. It kept building. And, good-natured people would say, oh, it's just the blues. The baby is still young. At the time, he was about 2. And then I just hit my wall and I couldn't shake it. I couldn't understand what was going on with me. This was something that I spent 24 years of my life preparing for. And I just didn't want anything to do with it. And at my lowest, I found myself contemplating my own suicide. Went to a therapist. She said, Kim, get a full chemical workup. Let's make sure things aren't lingering from the pregnancy, the hormonal changes. Let's see how you're doing. And she was the first one to actually name it burnout. And I'd never heard the term before. And I am someone, one of my degrees is in psychology. I have a background in healthcare and I never heard of the term before. I honestly thought she was making it up. I really did.
Like a pat on the head. Oh, maybe
you just burnt out. And I was like, really? I'm paying you like $150 a session for you to make this up. And I remember being like really salty with her until I started to realize it. And as I recovered, like this fire just ignited in me because I was like, I like to think I'm pretty resilient, first generation, everything. And I didn't even know what this was. So I was like, if I didn't know what it was, and I had resources, and I had access, what is it like for a lot of other people that don't know what this is? And so for
Right.
the last 7 or 8 years, this is what I've been doing. Mm.
This is incredible.
Oh,
And
Mhm.
yes.
I want to stop and just pause and let it
Yeah.
absorb for people. And maybe our listeners are like you and have never heard of burnout. They are feeling it, but they don't even know what they're feeling. So, can you go a little deeper into what are some of those signs? If they're seeing
Yes.
things, what, like a little burnout 101?
Yes, yes. So burnout is actually recognized by the World Health Organization, and a lot of people don't know it's been added to the International Classification of Diseases. So it's
Wow.
been added to the ICD-11. And what burnout is it's poorly managed work-related stress. And the
Mm,
three telltale signs that we look for are exhaustion. And I'm talking about this is a tiredness in your bones. Like you can't
hmm.
sleep it off, you can't vacation it off. The thought of work just creates a weight for you.
Mhm.
The other sign that we look for is cynicism. So
Ooh.
I'll share what that is in a client example. So I had a wonderful client. She came to me, leadership for, she was in leadership for probably over a decade. This is exactly how she started off the session. My job sucks, my kids suck, and my husband suck. That's it. Everything just sucks. Those were literally her opening sentences to me in our first session. And I was like, oh, there's the cynicism. Check. It is resentment. And
Mm.
what happens
Yeah.
is the resentment starts towards the work and not
Hmm.
feeling in control of how the work gets done. And then it spreads to other areas of our lives. The third thing that we look for is professional efficacy. Now, this is where I disagree with the research a little bit because what professional efficacy is, it's the ability to do one's job. What I find, particularly among my clients who are moms, who are women, who are highly resilient, they can go on autopilot and do the job.
Yep.
The issue becomes their confidence in their ability to do the job.
Mm.
That's the difference.
That's a
So,
huge distinction.
huge distinction. And so
Mhm.
they'll get promotions in the middle of being completely burnt out.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep.
Does it sound real familiar,
Oh
Suzanne?
my God. I got so many ding, 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 dings. Is first of all, I love your podcast. I know
Thank you.
it's been a while since you did an episode. Are you going to be
I
doing some
told you.
more?
I will. I have so much
I
to
don't mean to put
release.
you in the hot seat,
No,
but
no, no. So my team makes fun of me. They're like, don't even call yourself a podcaster anymore until you release your episodes.
oh
Don't even
no.
call yourself that.
But
So I
we
have like a
know it takes a
whole.
lot to get an episode out. So
Yes.
sometimes it's just not the time in your life.
Yes, yes, but it's coming. We did so many incredible interviews just over the last year that we're excited to release it. We are so excited
Oh,
to
good.
release all of that.
Oh,
But
I'm
yeah,
Suzanne
you were
so
saying,
texted me the other day
Suzanne?
and was like, this blew my mind. So I'll let you say what blew your
okay.
mind. But
So here's what blew my mind was the idea that there are so many employees at all levels who are holding themselves to this standard as if they are the founder of the company and as
Mhm,
if the entire success of the corporation is their responsibility, even
mhm.
though the the title on their business card may have nothing to do with what that is.
Right, right.
And I was like, oh my God, that was me like
Yes.
and I kind of do this to myself. We were joking about how there was someone who was asking for people to do book reviews, and I feel so much weight to do like the most perfect book review.
Yes.
Like if I just use the exact right words, like it's going to revolutionize, it's going to double their sales. So it's probably something about me that I feel this weight of responsibility. But boy, did I feel that at my last job. And
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God, Missy, I'm just like sending quote after quote. Everything felt like
Yeah.
every light bulb was going on. And
Yeah.
it's just, y'all got to go listen to this podcast. Seriously.
Thank you.
You should do every audiobook in the world. I know it's kind of done in this Monday meditation, like, trying to set that tone for Monday being the hardest day of the week and, easing you into it. But oh my gosh, I felt so relaxed yet so inspired and energized at the same time.
And
And then I,
seen.
Thank
yes,
you.
yes, and
Yeah.
understood, and just every single one of them. I mean, ours, we're lucky if we get an episode under an hour. Yours seem to be right around that magic 20-minute point. So you can really, well, no one's driving to work anymore, but walking the dog, whatever, you can knock a
Walking.
whole
Yeah.
you can walk a
Yeah.
whole episode out, and not even have to pause. And
Yeah.
yeah, highly
Thank you.
recommend that as you are getting ready to load some more of those up for everybody to go get caught up, so you're ready
Yeah.
to go when the
Yeah.
new ones come.
And thank you. Thank you. And I think too, people are ready for it. It's been a long 2 years, and
Mhm.
and things just keep coming. And one of the things that I've noticed, this is my 8th year coaching, and for the first time, my clients who are typically, they plan to plan.
Mhm.
This is the first time I've ever had all of them just say, you know what, I'm stuck. I don't
Yeah.
want to plan. I don't want to. We've had so much up and down and things just changing and plans shifting.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard them say, I don't want to plan. I just want to maintain. And I'm like, oh, this is different. This is
It's
Yeah.
different.
interesting because we were kind of wondering if this burnout concept, you've already said like it is it's defined as work,
Work
but does
related.
it extend to things like our parenting, our relationship, our hobbies, planning for the future? That it just seeps into everything. Is there burnout specific to those things, or are we talking about work burnout that then overflows? Like, is there a
Work.
distinction?
So the definition that's accepted by the World Health Organization is it's work burnout that overflows,
Hmm.
Okay.
right? So I am very candid about my story because I don't want anyone to experience what I felt. When you are in that state of exhaustion, you're not thinking clearly, right? So our brains weren't designed to be bathed in stress hormones constantly. It was
Right.
not designed to do that.
Yes.
And so what starts to happen is we're seeing neuronal shifts or neuronal changes in the prefrontal cortex. Your amygdala is changing size. Like things are
Mm,
really happening on a cellular level.
Mhm.
And so you're seeing the world differently. And
yeah.
the way that you interact is with the world is changing because the way that I describe it, if you've ever encountered an animal with rabies, right? We live in Georgia. So if you've ever encountered an animal with rabies, it's not the rabies itself that causes the problem. It's
Mm,
the impacts on the nerves and that, so literally they feel the air, like everything is just rubbing them and they feel it. And
Mm.
that's sort of how you get in burnout. Every
oh,
additional stimuli that requires more of you, you're just like, I don't have it to give.
Mhm.
And so everything, when I had to show up as a mom, I'll tell people in a heartbeat, if it wasn't for social media, I don't remember the first 3 years of my son's life
wow. Yeah.
because
Yes.
I was there, but I wasn't present. I was in survival mode. It's just now, and yes, to the listeners that are wondering, yes, you can heal your brain. It really does happen. Your memories come back.
Good.
Yeah.
But it's as things start to come back and I'm calmer, and it's just a different way of looking at the world, you begin to realize how much you missed, how much of a different person you were. I joke with my husband all the time. I was ready to file for divorce and I couldn't even tell you why.
Mm.
Right.
I couldn't even tell you why
Yeah.
because I was that stressed out.
Yeah.
And no one talks about that. Leaders are 3 times more likely to experience a divorce. And I think it's not just because of the job and the way that sometimes they're not able to be as present with their families. I definitely think burnout plays a part in that because I was a
Yeah.
different person. I was a completely different person during that time.
So now we're talking about it from a work standpoint.
Mhm,
For
mhm.
stay-at-home moms, I would
That's
assume that
work.
Yeah, I'd assume that the work is their work of momming,
Yes,
their work
Whatever your
of
work
absolutely.
all
is.
the things
Whatever
that they're
your
doing.
work is.
And I
Yeah.
think, like you said, so many people don't talk about it, and I think a lot of it, especially for stay-at-home moms, is because that is a place of privilege to have. Well, for some people it is not. For some people it is like they don't have any option, and
Right.
that's their
Right.
situation.
Hmm.
But for a lot of our listeners, it's a choice that they've been able to make. It's something that works best for their family, and financially
Hmm.
they're able to do that. So that really those moms kind of get in this position where they feel like I should be happy. I have it all. This is a choice I made. This is I've got all the things I ever wanted, and if I complain about it or if I talk about it, then I just don't look grateful. I don't look like a good mom. I look like I'm complaining about my kids, which we all have the right to do. Sorry.
Sometimes
um,
they're a pain in my butt.
yes.
Yes.
So, gosh, how do we work around that stigma of whether it's paid work or unpaid work, admitting that there's this burnout, talking to people about that?
Absolutely. One of the reasons I do what I do is for that very reason. So when my burnout was happening, at that point in my life, I was making more money than my parents ever made.
Mhm.
I had everything that I wanted. And I felt like, who am I to complain about
Right.
this?
Yeah.
Right.
And to your point, you feel that, but it's okay to say that this is too much. I'm tired. And I had to learn to open my mouth and say, it's not that I'm trying to be ungrateful, because I'm grateful for it. But it's also okay to say, you know what, this is too much. This is
Hmm.
a little much. And I need a break. And one of the things, that I talk about is letting those around you help you. We have this sense of, well, I should be so grateful that I shouldn't ask for help. I shouldn't
Hmm.
need anyone to do things for
Hmm.
me. And nothing could be further from the truth.
Right.
Whether you're a stay at home mom or a global SVP, it's hard. It's
Hmm.
hard. And this notion of superwoman and, being strong and being there for everyone, you're human.
Yeah.
You're human. And none of this is easy.
Yeah.
None of it. I'm working on my second book now with my publisher, and this one is more of a memoir. And I told her, I was like, there has to be a chapter about when overachievers become a mom. So when an overachiever
Mm.
becomes
Oh,
a mom,
yes.
Yep.
I was not ready.
Nobody, I don't think
No.
anybody is. I mean, it just rocks your world.
I mean, you
I
can
was not
practically
ready.
hear the gear shift going from like fifth to park, like in like
Yeah.
that. It's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for the
Oh
first
yeah.
time feeling like you cannot outlearn it. Like you can't,
Yes.
there's just no way to develop all the skills you think you need to be this perfect mother.
mm,
Yep.
You know.
And what is a perfect mother?
Right.
What
Right.
is a perfect mother? And
Right.
you quickly realize that your formula for success doesn't work here. I don't know about anyone else, but my son humbled the mess out of me.
Yep. Yep.
that is for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
so we're feeling this. We all okay, if we get to the point we're admitting we're burnt out. Now
Mhm.
what? I mean, you can't bubble bath your way out of this. Like
Mm-mm,
what
mm-mm.
what next?
One of the first questions I had to ask myself was, how did I get here?
Mm,
Mm.
And I realized it was years of compromising boundaries and doing what I thought I should do as opposed to what I really wanted to do,
Mm.
and reconciling that with myself. One of the
Yeah.
first things I had to come to grips with was, I don't want to be on tenure track.
yeah.
And if you're familiar with academia, that's like a, you are
Right.
getting off of a tenure track position.
Right.
This is coveted. This is, you had this position waiting for you before you were even done with your doctoral program. And I remember fighting the feelings of being ungrateful. And I was like, it's not ungrateful. I was
This is
dishonest
not for
with
me.
myself. I didn't want to do this.
Oh,
And I needed to say, I don't want to do this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Once again, it
Um,
all comes back to those core values, knowing
Core
your core
values.
yes.
And we've
values.
talked about I mean, you just hit our buzzwords like boundaries. Like we don't
Yeah.
have them. I think as women, we're really challenged in that area. We have such a not universally, but so many of us really have that innate need to be people pleasers.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's
I mean,
conditioned.
mhm,
It's conditioned from 5 years old.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Who wants the star? Oh, the child that sits quietly in class and
Yeah.
does what they're told and answers all of the questions. And
Yeah. And has the
we all
perfect
keep going for
attendance.
that
You get the
star.
pizza
Yep.
party if you go to
Yep.
school.
We
Show up
get to go to ice
at
cream with the
school when you're
teacher. I can
feeling
remember
like
going to ice
crap.
cream with the teacher. Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right. It is
Yeah.
just
I
Yeah.
want
built into.
to back up a little bit if we can, because I
Sure.
can't stop thinking about what you said about healing your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I love to talk about that. It's one of my favorite
Mm-hmm.
subjects.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to play the role of Suzanne. She's our nuts and bolts girl. I want to talk a little nuts and bolts on like, how is it that you start the process of healing your brain? What happens when someone comes and sits in your chair and says, my job sucks, my kids sucks, my husband sucks. I don't remember the first 3 years of my kid's life, whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you start that process?
We start with getting you out of the stress state. So the approach that I take is energy, body, mind. Right. So for years, we always focused on time management, right? Getting your time back. But I found that it's not limited to the time that you're spent working. You're working when you're thinking about work. You just
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
realize it. So if you're in an environment where you're experiencing burnout and you're super stressed, even the thought of work spikes your cortisol levels. So we focus on
Like
I
I'm
know.
right back to where I was at a very stressful job. I'm like, yep, 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 yep.
yeah, that's
That's like,
exactly what happens.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
10th time cortisol has come up into my life this week. So, yeah, I think the universe is like, okay, Suzanne, pay attention. Okay, okay,
Yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So what ends up happening is I found talking through clients through energy management is more effective than time management. So a really simple way to look at it is if I spend this much amount of energy towards work, or I expend this amount of energy towards work, then I need to replenish just as much. And we start going through, well, what things in your life give you energy? Not take your energy, but give you energy. I want you to think beyond bubble baths, think beyond massages. If they give you energy, great. But what about supporting a loved one? Just being there. And an example I like to give, I had a client who had a best friend that was struggling with fertility issues. And they finally had a successful round of IVF. And so the baby shower was coming up. And she was like, I don't know if I should go to that because I'm really tired. And I said, well, is it something that you really want to do? And she said, yes. And I said, well, go to it and then tell me how you feel. And she went to it and she came back and she said, Dr. Kim, I'm so excited that you encouraged me to go because I got to not only support my friend, but our other friends were there. One of the things that happens in burnout is you isolate yourself
Yep.
because you feel so tired. And so I encourage clients go spend time around people that you love and people that love you because that in and of itself helps to release the good hormones and lowers your cortisol levels as well. So we identify things in our lives that give us energy and we make time for them at all costs. What I tell clients is I need you to approach this as though your life depends on it because it does. Burnout is correlated to so many chronic diseases That's one of the reasons it got added to the ICD-11. It has been correlated to diabetes, hypertension, other cardiovascular disorders. There's some evidence that it's tied to fertility and reproductive issues. There's evidence it's tied to musculoskeletal disorders, GI disorders. So I'm like, this is vital to your life. Prioritize what gives you energy. Spending time with my kids. Okay, let's make sure that we're making time for that. What gives you energy? Having a conversation with my spouse or significant other. Okay, let's look at your schedule and let's figure out how to make time for that. So you find opportunities to reduce the stress state. Once you reduce the stress state, then we also physically manipulate the hormones in the body. So what does that mean? That means I'm putting you on an exercise program. I'm asking you questions about your diet. I'm doing things, so we're supporting your body at all levels. And then the last part is mind. We have to unlearn the things that caused us to get to the burnout state.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that is the people pleasing.
Yeah.
The power of no, being honest, saying, I really can't commit to that right now. We really look at an understanding of your personal agency, because from where I sit, I work with one-on-one clients and also corporations. I'm like, it's never just one guy's fault. It's never just one person's fault. I'm like, it's 50% the individual and 50% the organizational culture.
Mm-hmm.
So we figure out how to meet in the middle and work on all of that. But it's always interesting because I'll be in a room full of senior execs and they're like, oh, fix our people. And I'm like, they didn't get that way on their own.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't happen.
And so much what you're talking about, my brain is just going bing, bing, bing with this. We talk a lot about busyness and we're all just so busy. And there seems to be this national pride in just being so busy. Even if you're not busy, you feel this pressure to be like, oh, but I'm so busy.
I hate the word busy, but it's such a part of our vocabulary that I use it. And every time I use it, I'm like, oh, I hate that word.
Yeah.
Yes. Because, well, so much of our worth is tied to what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a fun thing I love to do when I'm doing like a corporate training is I go, if we met at a party, how would you introduce yourself to me? And the majority of the time, it's name and what I do for a living.
Yeah.
As I didn't ask you what you did for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you, who are you?
Right.
But our identities are so wrapped up in what we do that one of the things I love doing with clients is prying that apart and going, your title or your job is just a current way that you make money. It's not permanent. It can change tomorrow. It can change a year from now. And when you take it out of their identity, you find that it gets easier to set boundaries because what I do no longer defines me. So if something feels like it is breaching my boundaries, I have an easier time reinforcing that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
I want to like, again, needle point it on a pillow, tattoo it on my forehead. That's such important advice. Like, this is not who I am. It's what I do.
It's what I do. It's what I'm doing right now. I don't even have to do this forever. And I had to go through that, right? For years, I was a professor. I was like, no. I teach right now. I do research right now. That doesn't mean this is what I'm going to do forever. What is it that I genuinely feel that I am put here to do? And when I sat down and thought about that, I was like, I don't have to be tied to an institution to do any of that.
No.
Yeah. I really think we need to have a worldwide effort to just eliminate that question from small talk. Especially for stay-at-home moms, it is the worst. It is just the absolute
I hate
worst.
it.
Because you always start with, well, I used to be.
Yes.
Or I'm just
the ugly word just comes in. I'm just a mom.
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just, you're not
yeah,
just
there's so
anything.
many other more interesting questions like what are you really passionate about right now? Or hey, what's a hobby you've been thinking about taking up? Or like
Yeah.
let's get a little more interesting than
Yep.
just what's your business card say?
What
Right.
excites you right now?
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's your work, great. But if it's, I don't know, a trip you're
Most
taking
of the
or,
time it's not.
yeah, right?
Yeah, let's get honest.
Right.
It's not.
Oh,
Right.
okay. At least once a show, we like to, even though we like to cover things for our audience, we get a little like, hey, here's something I want to know. You're like asking
Mhm.
for a friend that's me. So, aside from day job burnout, career burnout, those types of things, we try to encourage a lot of, especially if they're stay-at-home moms who maybe have older kids and have a little more time flexibility, to get involved with causes that are important to them, whether it be activism, doing some volunteering. One of the things that I did about 4 years ago is started an organization that fights for LGBTQ inclusive sex ed in our school district. The opposition is brutal,
Mhm. I
hurtful.
live in Georgia. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know.
and it, and it's one of those things, and I think it's across a lot of different things that people want to be allies for, where I am not a member of the community. So
Mhm.
I feel like I have this unfair luxury of me being able to, because of, setting boundaries, being able to pick and choose when I'm feeling strong enough to be an advocate,
Mhm.
where this community does not have the privilege of being able to
Hmm.
opt in or out of whether, you know, people are burning them out. So I'm trying to figure out how to balance boundaries, but also owning my privilege and that, not everybody has the luxury of setting this boundary. And if you really want to be an advocate, like how far can you push it without burning yourself out so far that you can't be good for
Hmm.
anybody. So
Hmm.
I'm sure that's a more complex question than can be answered in just a couple minutes, but
Honestly, so a little bit about us. When all of the craziness started with COVID, my husband and I, we made the decision to homeschool.
mm,
And for years, I was dead set against homeschool. I'm a K through 12 public school kid, always taught at publicly funded universities, etc. And all of this started, and I was like, you know what? Let's homeschool them. And I made it a point to find a co-op
Hmm.
that was intentionally secular.
mhm,
Yeah.
And we have met some of the most incredible families in this co-op. I mean, people that I never would have met any other way. And our children are friends. And they have taught me that sometimes it's through the children we've learned this. Allyship just looks like genuine friendship.
Mm.
mm,
And we don't need to overthink it, right? I think sometimes there's that effort to do. Just start off with showing up, being present, being a friend, pouring into each other. And then eventually it will come as to what allyship looks like, what activism looks like, because it may look very different right now. It may look different 6 months from now. But especially when you're recovering from burnout, I actually encourage clients, don't overcommit yourself.
mhm.
Learn how to be a friend again. Because I promise you, while you were in burnout, you weren't very good at it. But everyone loves you too
Right.
much to tell you that you weren't
Hmm.
very good at it. So does that answer your question? Hopefully I wasn't rambling.
No, that's not
No.
rambling, and that's a really wonderful way to look about it. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're dealing with it again. This show is going to air in a couple months, so I don't know what's going to happen in that time period. But we
Yeah.
had a we had a governor come out and do a pretty ugly letter, and basically putting lives at risk in saying that any parent that is supportive of their kid being transgender is at risk of having their kids taken away. It's considered child abuse now. in well,
Wow.
it's not
Well,
legally
there's no
binding.
legal
It's
grounds
not
to
legally
stand on
binding.
yet,
He
but
did it as a
yeah,
campaign thing to be
right.
like, look how super creepy I am.
I was about to say something much uglier and I think
I
creepy. It's
tried not to bleep myself. um, so yeah, so it's a ugly time in Texas right now, but all
yeah,
the parents of trans kids that I'm seeing or hearing from, they're not asking, I mean, they're asking people to get as involved as they can legislatively, but everybody's just like, just call and check up on someone.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just be a
Yeah.
friend. Just
Hmm.
just ask them how they're doing and let them know that you're there for them. And it is, I think a lot of it does come back to just being an ally is just being a friend and
Hmm.
yeah,
really caring about how someone's doing. And I think that is a good first place to start for people who are like, my life's so busy right now. I don't know that I can add another thing that feels like I am this 100% activist, that I'm going to these meetings or I'm, showing up at these
Hmm.
marches or whatever the case may
right.
be. But start with those baby steps.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Oh,
Yeah, we don't have a ton of time left, and I'm backtracking again. Sorry. I don't know, Suzanne, you may edit this out and like put us back in some sort of order, or you may just leave it that I could not
we
stay on track today because you have said so many things that light up my brain. And in talking about being a friend just now, I was thinking about the people in your life watching you go through burnout. Did they say at the time or after, I saw these signs, I knew something was wrong with you? Or were you covering it so well they did not know what was going on internally?
I covered it so well.
mm,
So the only person that knew was my husband because my temperament towards him changed.
Yeah.
And he was sort of like, okay.
Mhm.
Maybe it's
Mhm.
just, being a new mom and all of the stress that comes from that. He just thought it was just okay. She's going through a phase and we're fine. My sister, who I'm very close with, for years, she kept asking herself, how did I miss it? How
Wow.
did I miss it? How did I miss it? And she had some guilt from that
Right.
because she was like, you're my sister. How did I miss it? And I was like, because I didn't want anyone to know.
yeah.
So, because going back to what we said before, I felt ungrateful for complaining.
Mhm. Mhm.
Our son was our miracle baby, and
Yeah.
I had so much to be grateful for. But I was at this phase in my life. I had the career of my dreams. Check, 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 check. Those blasted check boxes. And how dare I complain? So I
Yeah.
didn't.
I
And that
mean, it
is
just
the
hurts
hard.
my heart
Yeah.
because I can imagine the guilt those around you are feeling.
Mhm, mhm.
My brain, of course, immediately goes to what am I not seeing in people in my life? Am I not loving them right because I am so blinded by whatever they're putting up? It's a huge issue. And I'm so glad we're
Yeah,
talking about it today. And I'm so
yeah,
glad there are people like you providing the framework and the knowledge to help us get through it.
yeah.
It's
Check
just
on your strongest friend.
check.
I was always the strongest friend. Check
Mhm.
on your strongest friend.
Because they're
Yeah,
usually masters at covering up what's going
absolutely.
on.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah. I am so grateful for the work that you're doing and putting a
Me too.
spotlight on this because,
Yes.
I mean, to your point, and you were so open about in your story, is, I mean, it literally can save lives to
Yes.
have this discussion and
Yes.
to take the stigma away from not always feeling so 100% grateful for, and you can be
Yes.
grateful and tired at the same time. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
it doesn't have to be one or the
Yes.
other. Just because you are
Yes.
burnt out does not mean you
Yeah.
do not love your kids, you do not love your
Yes.
husband, you do not love. It may not be that you love your job, but it it's just that there's so much, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So much. And
let's
right now
talk about
there's so much.
Yes. Yes. Like you
it.
said, who knows where we'll be when this airs? But I woke up Friday, Friday. It's just like, why do I feel so heavy? Like I just felt heavy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I reflect. Like Fridays are my reflection days. That's when
Mhm.
I sit and I think about the whole week.
Mm.
And I was just like, oh, so much happened this week.
Oh yeah.
And I think I posted a
You
TikTok
did.
about it. And so many
Yeah.
people were like, is that what's wrong with me?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
It's like, yeah,
It was one
it's
triggering event after
after
another.
another, after another,
It
after
was.
another. I mean,
Yeah.
and it was just nonstop,
Yeah.
nonstop.
Right.
And
And
I am guilty of doom scrolling like nobody's
mm,
business.
mm,
I'll do it when I'm going to bed and I'll do it the first thing I wake up in the morning. And I just,
Great for your rest.
oh,
Really
it's
good for
so
your
good. Talk
rest.
about cortisol. Let's talk about cortisol.
Yeah.
So, what are, I mean, obviously the first recommendation is just be don't do that.
don't do
but,
that.
but in a time when you feel like you have a responsibility to the world to be at least a minimum level of informed,
Right.
Mhm.
but I mean, but it's not healthy for yourself to feel like you're solving an international crisis by staring at CNN for 5 hours straight.
Yes.
So what are your recommendations when it comes to media consumption and how that has plays to burnout?
Yes. So I don't know if any of your listeners or if either of you have ever read The Miracle Morning.
No.
Mm-mm.
And it's a fascinating book. They recommend what's called the SAVER technique, right? SAVER, SAVER.
Oh,
And
okay.
it stands for silence, affirmation, visualization, exercise, and reading.
Mm.
So if you do it full on, it takes like 90 minutes. I don't have 90 minutes.
Yeah. That would
Let me just
require
be
waking up
real.
quite a bit earlier than
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
No, I don't do that. So I actually start off the first 5 minutes of my morning in absolute silence. So whenever I can, I make it a habit of keeping my cell phone in a separate room.
Mm.
Mm.
We still have a house phone, just out of habit. We still have one. So our loved ones know if it's truly an emergency, call the house phone, call the landline. If it's not, I'll talk to you in the morning. But we have
Mhm.
do not disturb and we try to sleep with the phone in another room. So I'll like keep it in the bathroom or keep it in the hallway or keep it in my office. And so I wake up the first 5 minutes of the morning in absolute silence because I have found if the phone is next to me, the first thing I'm going to do is reach for the phone. And then I have all of these notifications waiting for me about
Yep.
just how crazy and ridiculous our leaders are being.
Mhm.
And that just sets the tone for my morning. So I start off with
Mhm.
5 minutes of silence. Then I do my affirmations. Sometimes I write them down. Sometimes I say them out loud. Sometimes I listen to some affirmations on YouTube. Then I do visualization exercises. So I imagine with incredible detail what I want the day to look like, what I want the month to look like. You know, if we're planning a vacation or we're getting ready to do something, I just imagine it in great detail.
Mm.
And then I exercise. So I try to get at least 30 minutes in, whether it's walking on the treadmill, whether it's picking up the kettlebells, whether it's stretching, whether it's doing something, because I'm messing with my cortisol levels when I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I read. So, a secret about reading, I love to read. I am an omnivorous reader, but it's kind of hard to sit and read for hours at a time. So when I read, I try to make sure I read something that's on paper because
Mm.
if I'm reading on my phone, I'm going to get distracted and I'm going to go wandering
Yes.
into something else, into one of
Yep.
my other apps. So I
Yep.
try to read. Book summaries are my go-to favorite right now, or I commit to reading 20 to 30 pages uninterrupted from a book.
Mm.
And you start your morning off with that. And I have found that it just calms me down incredibly. And it helps me to remember what I have control over and staying grounded in that.
Oh,
That's
I
So,
beautiful.
love that.
yeah.
I love it. Okay, I'm getting that book
Yes.
and I'm probably going to shrink down my saver
Yeah.
a little
Yes.
bit from 90
But yeah, I
minutes,
mean,
but
even if you don't do all the letters like right in a row, if you
Yes.
catch yourself doom scrolling, pick a letter
Yeah.
yeah.
and do that one
Yes.
thing. I think that would
Yes.
be a great
Yeah.
way of just
Absolutely.
stopping that bad trajectory. Oh, Love
Absolutely.
it. Love it. Love it. Okay, I'm glad I
Amazing.
asked because love that answer. Okay. Okay, Missy, get us back on track.
I think we're almost done. We're ready to do Look, Listen, Learns. But before we do that, can you tell our listeners the best place to follow you and if they want to work with you, if you're taking on new clients or if you have a plan to in the
Yes.
future, kind of how that works?
Yes. So you can always find me on TikTok. I play more on TikTok than any of the other social media platforms.
Yeah.
I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, but and LinkedIn, but you really find me playing on TikTok.
Yeah.
All of my handles are the same. It's Dr. Kim Hires. As far as working with me, so I am so excited to announce we are getting ready to launch a membership community because it's
Oh,
only one of me and there's so much work to be done. So, what
Yeah.
the membership community will allow is for a monthly fee. They get a weekly lunch with me where I do a live broadcast on some topic related to leadership
That's huge.
development or burnout prevention, burnout recovery. You get self study work to do. We have a book club and just a lot of other fun perks because leaders are readers. So, we had to have a book club in there.
Yep.
But also, we have a lot of other fun perks that we'll offer through the membership. So that's one way to work with me. Another way to work with me is to check out my courses, my online courses at the Leadership Antidote Academy. And what it is it's creating leaders who know who they are and who are comfortable disrupting the status quo because we need the status quo disrupted.
Yep.
yes.
Um, the future we cannot lead the way that we have led in the past in the future. It just won't
No.
work.
Mm-mm.
So this is a place for leaders to go to better themselves, better their teams. And the other way is just send me an email. And sometimes my one-on-one client roster fills up, and sometimes people roll off after they've completed a coaching program and space opens up. So you never
Yeah.
know, but always start with the online courses and the membership site, and then we go from there.
Perfect. We'll put all of that in the show notes.
Yes.
For anybody who's
Yay.
driving, you come back and
Right,
click.
right. Yeah. All right. It's Look, Listen, Learn time. And if you haven't listened before, we're glad you're here. And Look, Listen, Learn is just a few minutes where we get to share something we're reading, watching, listening to, buying, whatever it is we're enjoying. It can be a really great life lesson, or it can be just something super silly. And we don't usually throw our guests out to the wolves first. So, Suzanne, do you want to start us this week?
Thank you.
Sure thing. Let's see. I am watching Yellow Jackets. Talk about some cortisol producing TV. Watch out, it's stressful. So as friends have been talking about it for months, and we just didn't have Showtime, so we did not watch it. But every once in a while, when there's enough shows on Showtime that we want to watch, we'll buy it for a month and then we'll just
Yep.
go nuts. So
Yeah.
so we're
We
doing
do the
that.
same thing.
Yep, we do too.
We've got 1 month to get caught up. So we're doing Yellow Jackets. Is for anybody who doesn't know, it's about this high school soccer team that gets in a plane wreck in the wilderness. And so it's kind of a flashback between the teenage girls in the wilderness and then what happens to them like when they're in their 50s and going back and forth between the storylines. And I am only on like episode 2 or 3 and some stuff I can tell just from the preview, some stuff goes down. I am not to the heart of how bad this thing is going to get. So I'm a little nervous because it's already stressful. But since we do have Showtime for this month, we're also watching Billions, which we had stopped after a while because
Okay.
it's super bro. Like even my
It's
husband
super
is like,
bro.
this is super bro.
But I
if-
love it.
But a friend of mine who I respect, who like is super into Succession as I am, said that stick with it, go back to it. So we're giving it another try. We'll see. The last episode we watched, I was like, this still seemed really bro.
I mean, it is.
But yeah,
It is.
we're gonna give it a try for a while. Just because we're missing Succession's gone. We are missing our fill of just horrible, horrible people that we're watching on TV. Like, who are these really rich, horrible people?
I don't understand why I love those shows. I say it all the time. Like it does not line up with my values in any way.
No.
but I love those shows.
I know. I think it's because I have 0% of those people in my real life. So it's
Maybe.
just kind of, it's just
Maybe.
kind of this weird escapism. Like, really? Someday I'll meet one of them and
Yeah.
I'll just start laughing at him and be like, I didn't think he really existed like that in this world. And my annual mammogram came back clear. So again, our efforts to make every month breast cancer awareness month. So if you have not had yours, go get it.
Go get it.
Wow.
That's it for me this week.
All right. What about you, Kim?
So my look is, so I'm a huge The Walking Dead fan.
Oh,
Ooh,
don't.
okay.
Okay, I don't feel so bad about my plane crash
Oh.
girls then. Okay.
Oh, I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. And it's filmed here in Georgia.
Mhm.
So one of the things that my husband and I do is like every 6 weeks we block off a weekend, and that is our weekend, our time together.
Nice.
And so this past weekend we did a 5-hour tour of the Walking Dead filming sites. It's filmed about 45 minutes from us in Sonoy,
Yeah.
Georgia.
Oh,
And
how
I was totally
fun.
fangirling. I was trying. So my favorite character is Negan. It's Jeffrey Dean
Uh-huh.
Morgan.
Uh-huh.
I was trying so hard to see this man. So it was so much fun to just see where everything is filmed. And, you know,
Mhm.
my husband and I love to imagine like where we would live, what we would do. And I'm on this kick of like, I want land. I want land. I want to grow my own food. And my husband's like, babe,
Yes.
you killed an aloe plant. We can't, we are not relying on you.
We're going to be very, very hungry.
Yes, we are staying on the
Um,
grid.
So that's what I'm doing. You know, we're all caught up with the TWD universe and just getting really excited. This is the last season of filming
Yeah.
the show. So we're all like really excited to see how it ends. As far as learning, so I'm really into juicing and studying how we can use diet to support our stress response and to help us with our
Mm.
cortisol levels. So I think I've been torturing my family with these turmeric shots that I've been making. It has like pineapple and orange and like turmeric root. We live near a
Yeah.
farmer's market, so I'm able to buy the turmeric root, and sometimes I'll throw like a pear or an apple in there, but it's
sounds
supposed to help our
delicious.
stress
Yeah.
response.
And the
Yeah.
turmeric, that's super anti-inflammatory, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we tested it, and I typically do like a kettlebell workout, and it was the first time I didn't have soreness.
Mm.
I did a turmeric shot after my kettlebell workout, and I was not sore. And I was like,
Yeah.
So you need to send us the recipe and we're putting it in the show notes and then we're going to make it.
Yeah.
I've been toying
yes.
with getting a juicer. Another friend of
Yeah.
mine has been juicing.
Do you want to borrow
And
mine?
As
It's in
you're
a
sitting
cabinet. It's in a
unused, like
cabinet.
my
Maybe I'll
rice
bring
cooker.
it back out.
But yeah, she has all these juices in her fridge. They make a bunch. And
Yes.
she has these beautiful bottles of these really healthy juices. And I've been thinking about it.
You know,
Yeah.
and I'm team turmeric, even if
Yes.
you're not
Mhm.
juicing and just get it from the Nature Made aisle.
Yep.
I had a really bad knee issue. And my
Yeah.
doctor, this is the same doctor. Oh, I complain about him all the time. He's the one who had me
Who
lay
made you
down.
jiggle?
Yeah, he laid me down and then he like flapped my knees back and forth. He's like, see how the inside of your legs go bloop, 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 and the outside don't? I was like, I hate you.
Yeah.
But so it did this thing to my knee where it was tweaking the knee muscle because one muscle
Mhm.
or knee muscle, whatever it is, it was one muscle was pulling on the knee harder
Yeah.
than the
Yep.
other one could
Yeah.
compensate for.
Oh yeah.
And so until I
Mhm.
got that figured out, he said to do the turmeric. And
Mhm.
I mean, it was like that. Instead of being
Instant.
on all
Yep.
this pain medicine, I mean, it was overnight.
Yep.
And
All right.
I couldn't even sit at a movie theater because if I sat too long, my legs would get all creaky and old. And yeah, turmeric. I'm glad
Yeah.
you reminded me of that
All
because I
right.
ran out and then I was just like, oh, my knee's
Eh.
fine. But I'm sure
Yeah.
there's other things in me that are just like
Inflamed.
my knee, but not as
Yeah.
obvious. So yes,
Yeah.
I need to
Yeah.
do that again. Ooh, good.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else for this week?
This week, so we're launching our newest course, which is Wellness, Wealth, and Wholeness. And it's developing a growth blueprint because, like I said earlier, I have so many clients that for the first time in their lives, they don't want to plan because they're like, I planned and planned and planned, and two
And the
things
world blew up.
happened. The world blew up, and I came to the realization after the world blew up that everything I was planning to do, I don't even want to do it anymore.
I want to do that.
I don't want to do it. So getting them past that hump of, I don't want to do this anymore. Well, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I cannot tell you how that simple question pauses so many of my
Oh,
clients.
yeah.
Because
simple,
they're
but
like,
not
I haven't
easy.
allowed myself to say, what do
Yeah.
I
I
want
don't know.
to do?
Yeah.
So this course is designed to help you figure that out and answer that question. So
amazing. All right, I'm going to do my look, listen, learns really fast because we are pushing it on time. So I have this bag, reaching down for it, that I just got. It's huge.
Oh,
That
love
is-
big
Oh
bags.
my God.
Yes.
I can't see you anymore.
It's
Missy.
enormous. Like it's bigger than me.
I love it.
But it's the coolest bag because you can snap it up and make it smaller. Like you can snap the sides in. I'm doing a really bad demo, but we'll put a picture so you can snap the sides in, and it has like a bottom that goes in it and makes it like a tote, or you can carry it more as a purse. It's called, I wrote it down and now I can't find it. So it is called Taylor Gray is what it is.
Taylor Gray. Okay.
And it's neoprene. So you can just wipe it off, and it's really light, and it comes in all kinds of different fun prints and stuff. And I got it at a boutique. And I think it's mostly sold in like little local stores.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I love it.
That'd
It's
be
the
perfect
greatest
for the
bag.
beach for like sand and
Yes,
stuff.
I was
You just do
thinking
little
that a
shaker,
weekend
shaker.
getaway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I carried
I was
it on the
thinking that.
plane recently and like felt like I could wipe all the plane off of it when I got, the plane's
Yes.
Hose
and
it
easy to
down.
clean. Yeah. Hose it down. You're not going to hurt it. And it's, light so you can fill it with stuff and it's not heavy. So I love that. And then my look and listen are all kind of the same. I've been listening to this month's Mom Goal, MOMGUL, Mom Goal podcast. Raquel Kelly, who's one of the hosts, was a guest on our show a while back. And every month they kind of take a topic and have a guest who's there for the whole month. And they do really short episodes. But one of their guests this month is Fran Hauser, who is amazing. And her book, The Myth of the Nice Girl, is what I'm listening to on Audible right now. And it's about that desire to please at work and being a performer. And I thought it was a great fit for today's show. And then she has a new book coming called Embrace the Work, Love Your Career. And it's coming at the end of this month. So I've pre-ordered it. But God, Fran is super cool. I recommend looking into her.
How have I never heard of her? Okay.
I know. We're going to hear of her because we're going to invite her to be on the show because I love her.
Hopefully,
Hopefully all of our listeners will get to know Fran too through the show. But we'll put her website in the show notes and links to her books. But she has great advice about managing your work life in a way that works for you.
I tell you, that is the best part of this darn podcast is that there are so many people that are out there doing this amazing work. Like, I'm so grateful that we got to know you, Kim, and that
Thank you.
It gives us the excuse to go scour like the TikTok and the social media and the podcasts and the everything. And, because moms are busy, the B word, busy. And they don't have time necessarily to go and search for all that stuff. So I love being able to curate some of our favorites and be able to share those with people so that
it's fun.
Take a little bit of the workout, but they still get the learnings from it. So yay. Yeah. So excited.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Oh, so much fun.
And
fun. So much learning.
So much. Yes.
I know. I was so grateful to hear that you are going to be continuing the podcast because
it's good.
Yeah. Well, but it's just
have
enough
so
time for people to get caught up. So yeah.
We have so many exciting things like the Mindfulness Mondays, and I'm so excited. So excited. Yeah.
Good. People need to go download it, subscribe, so when the new stuff pops up, it shows up for them.
So we're excited. Lots of work
good luck.
to be done. Yeah, thank you. Good luck to you all too. This was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Fun. Bye.
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 Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and ... podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you know someone else who could benefit from today's episode, be sure to share it with them. Also, please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in the show notes over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the AND spelled out. In between shows, you can find us at the socials, including our private mom and community Facebook group. You can find links to the group, all of our socials, and our questions and comments section over at our website, momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you so much. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.